September 2003, Burbank, California. A Warner Brothers soundstage goes completely silent, not the normal silence of a film set between takes. The kind of silence that happens when something breaks, when power shifts, when everyone realizes they're witnessing something they'll talk about for years. Clint Eastwood stands 10 feet from his cinematographer. His voice is low, measured, the way it always is. But there's something underneath it now, something final. You're done. Pack your things. The cinematographer is Tom Stern's replacement, a man named Marcus Webb, 42 years old, 3 Academy Award nominations, 20 years in the industry, one of the most sought-after DPs in Hollywood, and Clint Eastwood just fired him in front of 60 crew members on day 8 of shooting Mystic River. Nobody moves, because firing a cinematographer 8 days into production doesn't just cost money. It costs time, momentum, trust. It can destroy a film before it's even made. And Clint Eastwood, who's famous for his efficiency, for shooting fast and clean, for never wasting a moment, just stopped everything. To understand what happened in that room, you need to understand what Marcus Webb did. Not the official reason, the real reason. The thing that made Clint Eastwood, who almost never raises his voice, who almost never loses his temper, draw a line in the sand. Mystic River is different from most Clint films. It's dark, heavy, about childhood trauma, and how it destroys everything it touches. 3 boys witness something terrible when they're 11 years old. One of them gets taken. The other 2 watch. And 30 years later, that moment is still eating them alive. The cast is powerful. Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, Kevin Bacon, all of them at the top of their game, all of them bringing everything they have. The material demands it. You can't phone in a performance in a film about child abuse and murder and the way guilt metastasizes over decades. Tom Stern was supposed to shoot the film. He's Clint's regular cinematographer. They've worked together for years. They don't need to talk much. Tom understands Clint's visual language. Simple, clean, no unnecessary movement. Let the actors do the work. But 3 weeks before production starts, Tom's father dies. He needs time. He can't do the film. Clint doesn't hesitate. Take the time you need. We'll find someone else. The studio sends a list of available cinematographers. Clint picks Marcus Webb. His work is good, maybe too good, too stylized, too much emphasis on the image instead of the story. But he's available, and he's technically brilliant. Clint figures they can make it work. The first week of shooting is tense. Marcus wants to do things his way. Elaborate lighting setups, multiple camera angles, long discussions about color palettes and visual metaphors. Clint listens at first, tries to accommodate, but he's getting frustrated. We don't need 6 lights for this scene. We need 1. Natural light. Simple. Marcus pushes back. With respect, Mr. Eastwood, I think we're underselling the visual potential here. This is a prestige film. We should be thinking about how every frame looks. Clint's voice stays calm. I'm thinking about how every frame serves the story. They compromise. But the tension is building. The crew can feel it. Marcus is talented, yes, but he's treating the film like it's his vision, not Clint's. And that's a problem, because Clint Eastwood doesn't need a collaborator who fights him. He needs someone who understands what he's trying to do and helps him do it. On day 6, they're shooting a scene with Tim Robbins. His character, Dave, is being interrogated by Sean Penn's character, Jimmy. It's the emotional climax of the film. Dave is breaking down, confessing to something, lying about something else. You can see the guilt eating him from the inside. Tim has been preparing for this scene for weeks. He's fragile, raw, right on the edge. Clint knows this. He knows Tim needs to do this in as few takes as possible, because the kind of vulnerability Tim is bringing, you can't sustain it. You access it, you capture it, and then you let the actor recover. Marcus sets up the shot. It takes 90 minutes. He wants a slow push-in on Tim's face. He wants specific shadows. He wants the camera to move in a way that's, in his words, more cinematic. Clint watches this setup with growing concern. Tim is sitting in his chair, staying in character, holding on to this emotional state. And Marcus is adjusting lights, moving flags, discussing lens choices with his camera operator. "Marcus, we need to shoot this now." Marcus looks up. "Almost there, Mr. Eastwood, just getting the frame perfect." Tim doesn't need the frame perfect. He needs to do the scene. "I understand, but this is the climax. We should take the time to make it beautiful." Clint walks over to Marcus. His voice is quieter now, more dangerous. "This scene is beautiful because of what Tim is doing, not because of how you light it. We shoot in 5 minutes, or we lose him." Marcus nods. But Clint can see he doesn't understand. He thinks Clint is being impatient. He thinks Clint doesn't appreciate craft. He doesn't realize that Clint is protecting his actor. They shoot the scene. It takes 3 takes. Tim is extraordinary. He's not acting anymore. He's living it. The pain, the guilt, the desperation. It's one of those performances that reminds you why cinema matters, why we tell these stories. After the 3rd take, Clint calls cut. Tim collapses. Not physically, emotionally. He's given everything. The crew is silent. Even Marcus looks moved. But then Marcus says something. He says it to his camera operator, not to Clint, but everyone hears it. Wish we'd had more time to set that up properly. The lighting's a bit flat. Clint hears this. He doesn't respond. Not yet. He walks over to Tim, helps him up, tells him it was perfect. Waits until Tim is off set. Then he turns to Marcus. "My trailer. Now." They walk across the soundstage. The crew knows something's wrong. They've never seen Clint this tense. Marcus follows, confused. He thinks maybe Clint wants to discuss tomorrow's scenes. Inside the trailer, Clint closes the door. He doesn't sit. He stands. "What you just said out there?" "About the lighting being flat." Marcus looks uncertain. "I was just noting that we could have pushed the aesthetic further if we'd had more time." Clint's jaw tightens. "Tim Robbins just gave one of the best performances I've seen in 40 years. And your concern is the lighting?" "With respect, Mr. Eastwood, both things can be true. A great performance and beautiful cinematography. That's what we're striving for." "No, that's not what we're striving for. We're striving to tell the truth, to capture something real. And if that means the lighting isn't perfect, I don't care." Marcus shifts his weight. "I think we have different philosophies about filmmaking." "We do. Mine is that the story comes first, always. The actors come first, always. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand what I do. I'm not trying to undermine your vision, Mr. Eastwood. I'm trying to elevate it, and that's the problem. You think it needs elevating?" They stand in silence. Marcus realizes this conversation isn't going the way he expected. Clint continues. "I've been doing this for 50 years. I've worked with the best cinematographers in the world, and every single one of them understood one thing. They're not making their film. They're helping me make mine. And if they disagree with a choice I'm making, they tell me privately. They don't question it in front of the crew. They don't undermine the work we just did. I wasn't trying to undermine anything. You just told the crew that Tim's performance wasn't enough, that it needed better lighting to be good. Do you understand how disrespectful that is?" Marcus goes quiet. He's starting to understand. Clint walks to the window. He's not angry. He's just done. "I've given you a week to figure out how we work. And you haven't. You're fighting me on every choice. You're prioritizing your vision over the story. And I can't have that. Not on this film. Not ever." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you're fired. Tom will be back tomorrow. You can finish out today if you want. But after today, you're done." Marcus stares at him. "Mr. Eastwood, please." "I've never been fired from a film in my life." "Then maybe this will teach you something." The conversation is over. Clint opens the door. Marcus walks out. His face is pale. He goes to his camera operator, tells him to pack up the equipment. And within 2 hours, he's gone. The crew doesn't know what to do. Firing the DP 8 days in is unprecedented. It's going to delay production. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to require reshooting everything they've done so far. But Clint doesn't explain. He just calls Tom Stern. Tom, I need you back. I know it's soon, but I need someone who understands. Tom doesn't ask questions. He just says, I'll be there tomorrow. That night, the story spreads through Hollywood like wildfire. Clint Eastwood fired Marcus Webb. The reactions are immediate and divided. Some cinematographers side with Marcus. They say Clint was being unreasonable, that Marcus is one of the best in the business, that you can't just fire someone for having a different creative vision. Others side with Clint. They say Marcus was out of line, that when you're working with someone like Clint Eastwood, you serve the story, not your ego. That disrespecting an actor's performance is unforgivable. The Cinematographers Guild gets involved. They want to know if the firing was justified, if Marcus was treated fairly. Clint provides them with documentation, the conversations he had with Marcus, the delays caused by elaborate setups, the comment about Tim's performance. The Guild sides with Clint. They release a statement saying that creative differences are a valid reason for termination, that directors have the right to protect their vision and their actors. But the damage is done. Marcus Webb's reputation takes a hit, not because he was fired, but because of why he was fired. Word gets around that he prioritized his own vision over the director's, that he disrespected actors, that he couldn't collaborate. For the next year, Marcus struggles to find work. Studios don't want to hire someone who clashed with Clint Eastwood. Directors don't want to risk the same conflict. Marcus tries to explain his side, tries to say it was a misunderstanding, but nobody listens. Meanwhile, Tom Stern comes back and shoots the rest of Mystic River in 5 weeks. He uses simple setups, natural light, lets the actors breathe. And the film is stunning. Not because of elaborate cinematography, but because of the truth it captures, the rawness, the humanity. Mystic River premieres in October 2003. Critics call it a masterpiece. Sean Penn wins the Academy Award for Best Actor. Tim Robbins wins for Best Supporting Actor. The film is nominated for 6 Oscars total. At the premiere, a journalist asks Clint about the firing, about the controversy. Clint's response is short. We had different ideas about what the film should be. I went with mine. Did you regret firing him? No. I regret that it was necessary. 3 years later, Marcus Webb is teaching cinematography at USC. He's not bitter. He's learned something. A student asks him about working with Clint Eastwood, about what went wrong. Marcus thinks for a long moment. Then he says, I thought filmmaking was about making every frame perfect, about creating visual poetry. And it is, sometimes. But with Clint, it's about truth, about stripping away everything that doesn't serve the story. And I didn't understand that. I was so focused on making it beautiful that I forgot to make it real. Do you wish you'd done things differently? Every day, working with Clint Eastwood is a privilege, and I treated it like it was about me, like I was supposed to impress him with my skills. But he didn't need to be impressed. He needed someone who understood what he was trying to say. And I didn't. Another student asks if he ever talked to Clint again. Once, 5 years later. I ran into him at the DGA Awards. I apologized, told him I understood now. He just nodded, said, "Good. Then keep making films. Just remember whose story it is. That's who Clint Eastwood is. Not the cowboy, not the legend. The man who protects his actors above everything else, who understands that filmmaking is collaborative, yes, but not democratic. That someone has to make the final call, and that call has to serve the story, not the ego." In that trailer in 2003, Clint could have compromised, could have kept Marcus on to avoid the cost and controversy. But he didn't, because he knew that keeping Marcus would compromise something more important, the trust of his actors, the integrity of the film. When you're on a Clint Eastwood set, you're not there to showcase your talent. You're there to serve the story. And if you don't understand that, you don't belong there. It's not cruel. It's clarity. The legacy of that firing isn't that Clint was difficult, it's that he had standards, that he refused to let anyone, no matter how talented, undermine the work, that he valued his actors more than his budget, that he understood what most directors don't. The camera serves the performance, not the other way around. Years later, Tim Robbins was asked about that day, about the scene where he broke down, about Marcus's comment. Tim smiled. "I didn't hear what Marcus said, but I heard what Clint did. He protected me. In that moment, when I was most vulnerable, he made sure I was safe." That's what great directors do. They create an environment where actors can fall apart because they know someone will catch them. That's the real story, not the firing, the protection, the clarity, the refusal to let anything diminish the work. Clint Eastwood didn't fire Marcus Webb because he was a bad cinematographer. He fired him because he was serving the wrong master. And on a Clint Eastwood film, there's only one master: the truth. Hollywood took sides. Some said Clint was right, some said he was wrong. But in the end, the only thing that mattered was the film. And Mystic River stands as one of the great American films of the 21st century, not because of beautiful cinematography, but because of what it captures: pain, guilt, trauma, humanity, all of it raw and real and unflinching. That's what happens when you serve the story, when you protect your actors, when you refuse to compromise. You make something that lasts, something that matters, something true. Clint Eastwood is 84 years old now, still making films, still protecting his actors, still refusing to let anything get in the way of the truth. And somewhere in Hollywood, young cinematographers are learning the lesson Marcus Webb learned the hard way. It's not about you. It's not about your vision. It's not about making every frame perfect. It's about serving something larger, something true. And if you can't do that, you don't belong on a Clint Eastwood set. That's the legacy. Not just the films he made, but the standard he set, the line he drew, the protection he offered to everyone who was brave enough to be vulnerable in front of his camera. In that soundstage in 2003, Clint Eastwood stopped everything, fired one of the best cinematographers in Hollywood, and refused to explain or apologize or compromise, because some things are worth more than money. Some things are worth more than reputation. And protecting your actors, honoring their work, serving the truth, those things are worth everything. That's Clint Eastwood. Silent, stubborn, uncompromising. Knowing that real power isn't the ability to control people. It's the ability to protect them, to create a space where truth can exist, where vulnerability is honored, where the story always comes first. If that story resonated with you, there's more where that came from. Not loud, not performative, just truth, told the way it should be. Quietly, carefully, with respect for everyone involved.